All right, here is our GMC Sierra tweet of the night. It's from ESPN Stats and Info. Joe Burrow joins Russell Wilson with 6 and Ben Roethlisberger with 5 as the only starting quarterbacks to win 5 playoff games within their first 3 seasons. He's also 5th quarterback in the Super Bowl era to win each of his first 3 playoff road starts. They've been very good on the road, and they're going to have to be really good on the road again at Kansas City. But they had that experience from 1 year ago, and I'll say this. If they should win there, then they're the best team in the AFC, and Kansas City is not.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. To go in there and beat them 2 times in a row to go to the Super Bowl, yeah, they're the team to beat in the AFC. And talk about a tall task for the Steelers. Beat them once this year, but I think they got the benefit of getting them first game of the year. And like I said, they hit that high note in November. It just kept the momentum going. So, you know, it's one of those things where now the Steelers are competing against the best team in the AFC twice a year in their division. And they're going to have to make some roster moves, I think, to compete with that.
Got a couple of tweets here. I want to read them, Shelby. Randy Wagner says the 49ers-Cowboys game proves that defense can still win a playoff game. There is hope for the Steelers. Steelers need to draft defense heavy, best available in 2023. I wouldn't go that far, Randy. I still think they need offensive line help. I still think you can add another wide receiver, although, yes, inside linebacker and things of that nature. Yeah, you could win. I think Cincinnati shows you don't have to have the greatest of defenses, but if you have a really solid defense with the offense that accompanies it, and that's what the Steelers have to turn into, Shelby. They have to turn into that offense that can generate 28 points a game, not 17.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room for improvement with the Steelers, as we already know. But, I mean, I agree with you. Trenches, I am putting it into the atmosphere. I want the Steelers to draft in the trenches, or I'll even take some DBs. But those are the areas of focus for me, I think, right now. The Steelers need to turn into an offense that, again, can just manage the game, can have a really strong ground game, can play mistake-free football. And I think we saw them moving towards that at the end of the year. Now, the opponents weren't the greatest, we understand that, but we saw the progress that I think was necessary to feel more confident about the Steelers' offense going into the next year. They can take the 49ers model here. They can do the tight defense and the mistake-free offense with a good ground game. I think that is well within reach for the Steelers, and I just need to see those moves in the trenches to believe it even more.
Yep, that's how you win. You win in those trenches. Let's go to Matt in Murraysville, our first caller tonight. Hello, Matt.
Hey, Bob, I want to tell you congratulations on your 40 years.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yay.
And I want to tell you what, your daughter, Selena, does a great job on the CW.
I appreciate that. She works a lot.
Yes, she does.
Just like Shelby. They're always working in whatever job's available. So thank you.
Well, that's great. You know, my big question is, why did the Steelers ever let Hilton go?
Money. It just didn't fit into what they were doing. Although now, if you had to ask him, I think, Shelby, and thanks, Matt, for the call. I think they'd probably say they should have been creative and found a way. The guy was, he was undrafted. He went to New England. They released him. They brought him here, and you remember that one game down, I think it was in Houston, where he had a hat trick of sacks. I mean, he comes up with plays at critical times. He has a nose for the football in big moments.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the Steelers typically win those moves when it comes to letting a guy walk, but this is one of those exceptions, especially when you consider the revolving door of DBs that have come through Pittsburgh, especially lately. That is a move I think they would want to get back. It's one of those moves where we still watch Mike Hilton and wonder why the Steelers did what they did. It was a money thing. I'm sure they thought he was replaceable. Turns out not so much.
RJ in Somerset is our next caller. What's up, RJ?
Hello, Bob. Well, since Dallas lost, running back Ezekiel Elliott will not be in the championship game or even go to the Super Bowl and earn a trophy. Thank you.
That's true. None of them will. That leads us to this tweet. Jason Hoff says, since 1995, the Dallas Choke Boys, Dak is not a money quarterback. He's really... he threw 2 interceptions today. He could have thrown a third, and that one might have been a return for a pick 6. He did not have a good day against that San Francisco defense.
No, he is continuing to look for that staple win, and I think a lot of people thought that last week would have been that performance for him. But Dallas and this team that they've had in the last couple of years, they have good regular seasons, or they hit that kind of high point in November like we talk about, but then they fail to come up in the really big moments in the postseason. We see it year after year. You have a guy like Micah Parsons on the other side of the ball there, and as good as he was, the the 49ers offensive line held him pretty well. I think that is one thing that you have to give them credit for too. But yeah, this Dallas team continues to fall short, especially in these big moments, and it's something to really consider about them when they're making off-season moves.
Just goes to show you how tough it is to win too. I mean, look at even Kansas City. If they should lose next week, I mean, for all the great things they've done getting the AFC Championship games, you know, they'd have one Super Bowl in all that time. It's just hard to win. Let's go to Bill in Pittsburgh, who joins us right now on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Hey, Bill.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Shelby. Hey, as far as the draft goes, why don't we give Kenny Pickett all the weapons he needs? I want him to get the Jordan Addison. I want another tight end. And I want to go all offense because that's the way the NFL's going.
You know, Bill, I agree with wide receivers and get weapons when you can, but tight end, I don't think they need help there. I think Cam Hayward's brother Connor's going to be a good player. I think Freiermuth is going to be that guy in the middle. Shelby, when it comes to receiver, somebody like Jordan, it's just an easy thing to say. Bring Jordan Addison. Well, first of all, we don't know how this is going to play out. But they have 2 of the first 32 picks. If at 17, for example, they get a good offensive lineman and then he's available at 32, I would certainly not be against that because just like they did in Cincinnati, they surrounded Joe Burrow with a bunch of receivers. Even though they needed other help as well, they chose Jamar Chase when they could have had their choice of about 4 different offensive linemen.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the Steelers, you'd say, well, everyone should just bring Jordan Addison in, and that's what we want here because it's a hometown thing. Well, everyone said that last year, bringing Kenny Pickett, and we all kind of thought that was a little bit crazy just because he was a pick guy, and they ended up doing it. So it's not outside of the realm of possibility. I just want it to be smart, Bob. Like you said, get some guy in the trenches with one of those picks, even if it's offense or defense. If Jordan Addison's there, I am certainly not against taking him. But when I look at the Steelers' offense, I see a lot of the weapons there in place. Deontay Johnson, yeah, he didn't have a great season. I'm still not overly impressed with him, but I think he can still be your guy. George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, you have Najee Harris, both as a running back that's come into his own a little bit this year, and a pass catcher, the 1-2 punch with Jaylen Warren. I think they have a lot of those weapons in place on offense. It's just got to be those guys in the trenches. It's not flashy, it's not glamorous, but you need it to win, and the Steelers have yet to find that.
Good point. Marjorie O'Neill on Twitter says, I'm really disappointed in you guys giving Burrow the edge over Mahomes. Yeah, they've beaten them before, but won't happen again. Chiefs will roll over Burrows. All right, Marjorie, we'll remember that next week, if I can remember. Meantime, let's go out to Dave in Brownsville. Dave joins us here on the Borders and Borders Hotline. What's up, Dave?
Hey, how are you this evening?
Good, thanks.
Hey, what is going on with the Penguins? I mean, they can't score, and they're having major problems there. What is going on with them?
Well, they didn't score today because they played a really very defensive game on the road against a team that's pretty good with speed. They've cut off their chances. I was not at all disappointed with their effort today. I was disappointed in their power play, and I still am disappointed at times with their power play just because it has talent on it and should score when given opportunity. But Shelby, they won the other night against Ottawa, a good game. They got a point today. They're 3 up on everyone else for the second wild card. To me, you got to get to the 3rd place in the division to avoid either Carolina or Boston in the first round. If you have one of those other teams that you're going to one of those 2 teams, it's really difficult to see them moving past the first round. If they get to the number 3 team in the Metro, then all of a sudden, instead of taking on Carolina, for example, you might get New Jersey or you might get somebody else.
Yeah, and the Penguins have so far failed to prove that they can hang with those top teams in the Metro so far this season. When I look at this team, you look at today, and it was a really good game played. And then it's a lack of detail at the very end that bites them. And when it's not a lack of detail, it is the power play or it's bad puck management. There's always something with this team that's just not going quite right during these games. And I know injury is a little bit of a part of it, not so much as it was in prior weeks, but it has been a part of it, especially with a guy like Chris Letang out. But this is a Penguins team that I think is still very much so figuring itself out. And now that we're heading into February, they better be figuring it out soon.
Yeah, it's a tough division. There's no question about that. And they have some games coming up they need to secure as far as points are concerned. They have 2 games in hand over the Islanders, which is good because the Islanders are a team behind them right now in the chase for the second wild card. The other thing I want to talk about is Andrew McCutchen. Your thoughts about, we're going to talk about this on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, by the way. That's tonight, 11:35 on KDKA. Andrew Filipponi, Jeff Hathorne, Chris Mack will join me. But Shelby, This is a good PR move. There's nothing bad about this. To bring him back, he could be a great influence on younger players. I like everything about it, but to me, it's a separate issue from them trying to get better this year, because I don't think they're close to being better this year. I hope I see improvement. You should expect improvement by now, but I don't know what beyond that to expect.
No, without this move, the Pirates have otherwise had a very unmemorable offseason once again. If you don't like this move, I count you in the not letting people enjoy things category.
Right.
Because how can you not love this? I am a big fan of the homecoming story. Andrew McCutchen, I was driving down the Parkway West on the way home from work Friday. There's a big welcome home banner on a billboard for McCutchen. This town loves him. He loves this town. The way he brought baseball back to this city, it was such a big part of that the first time around. I know that's not likely going to happen with this stint with him, but this team needs veteran leadership. I always thought Brian Reynolds would be that guy. He is more than likely on his way out. It's veteran leadership. McCutchen said he's not here to do a retirement tour. He's here to help this team win, and I think they are a long ways from that. But you need that leadership in the locker room, clubhouse, guys that have done it before. He is that guy, and he knows what baseball means to this town, more so than pretty much every other guy in that clubhouse at the moment.
Yeah. And quite frankly, if they trade Brian Reynolds, then to me you're going backwards instead of front. At some point, you have to sign people who, he's only 27. He's not in his 30s yet. He still could arguably have 8 solid years here. And if you're not contending in 8 years, then what are you? So he should be a part of moving on into the future. We have to move on to a commercial break. We'll come back with more. You're watching the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're live 7 nights a week. We're right here on Pittsburgh CW and simulcasting some nights on 93.7 The Fan.